Hello, everyone, and welcome to our roundtable on the question of cybersecurity and well-being. No, I'm just joking. We're going to be talking about penetration testing at AI speed. So we're going to be talking about AI. So we'll give we'll have some introductions, and then they'll talk to us about what they've been doing in the area of pen tests. So on the left, Jean-Michel Bénard, partner of Cybersecurity Audit and Advisory of Grant Thornton. Then Arnaud Treps, CISO of Odasiva, Franck Perilla of Emeria, and William Ritchie of Custody, but I'll have them introduce themselves. So, for a few years now, we've been talking a lot about AI. And we're trying to figure out how to do more with less. Hackers have been using AI to do their job more efficiently. But for us on the defense side, the good guys side, we have a real challenge here because there are more and more attacks. There's a lot more data to manage as well, and we can't do it alone. So we're going to need help. So we have so where do things stand in terms of a penetration test, pen test? And what's coming for the future. And we'll take questions and answers from the audience at the end, and we've set aside time for that. And of course, you can go see our speakers at their booths at the show. So let's start with Jean-Michel. So I hope everyone can hear okay. So Jean-Michel Bénard, partner at Grant Thornton. And it's been 20 years I've been working in cybersecurity, the technical side, intrusion tests, architecture, code analysis, things like that. Also GRC, incidents reporting, and risk analysis. Hello, everyone. Arnaud Treps, CISO of Odasiva. We're a software publisher. And before that, I worked for Accor Group, where about 20 years ago, we were already doing a pen test where we weren't talking yet about AI. So for us, what we do is we support our clients to analyze their risk linked to data flows. Hello, everyone. I'm Franck Perilla. I'm of the Emeria Group in charge of information security. So we do a lot of real estate management. We're based in Switzerland, France, Belgium, the UK. Now, I'm not so much on the technical side for pen tests, but rather overall security officers. So I need to know that all of our businesses are secured. Hello, everyone. I'm William Ritchie, and I am CTO of Custody. We use AI. So I've been doing AI for 20 years, not so much pen tests, but now, yes, very focused on pen tests. And so I'll be talking to you about some of the trends in the business. All right, let's start with an overview. Arnaud, give us an overview. Where to pen tests, without talking about AI right now. What's the situation of pen tests currently? Well, let's distinguish things. So there's scans and then there's pen tests. So there's automation. To me, that's what I call scanning. Okay, that's absolutely necessary. The scan gives you a complete overview when you've got a lot of apps, and there's going to be a lot of apps running in a big company. So the scans will help you identify problems, whereas the pen test, according to me anyway, is more manual in a sense. Because, they will use, the pen test will use scans, of course, but it's a more comprehensive view. For me, pen test is more of a human approach. Well, what's going on in a pen test? There's the standard network and system pen tests, where the scanners are pretty efficient, in fact, looking for vulnerabilities of the ports, and so to detect any exploits. But so when you've got web and mobile apps, for example, so we still need the pen testers. I'm sure there are some pen testers in the room here, so I still think we need human intelligence to do that properly. Well, that's very interesting what you're saying there. For us at, we do, we have people do, the pen testing for us, but I would say, there's testing internally our systems, but then also what can be visible from the outside, so the application layers. So it is important, to test applications, it's true. And this, we have to keep in mind, what, the pen testers have their art, I'll call it an art of pen testing. So automation is not necessarily applicable here. So if you're looking for weaknesses in certain segmentation or isolation of your systems, for example. So yes, for us, we have human pen testers, okay, but for from internally, yes, we're looking for vulnerabilities. It's true, okay. Firewall's not enough. Other tests, you have to take maybe an approach that we can use automation. For companies like ours, we don't have our own pen testers, so we have to pay. So, we are looking at some automated systems, and it does go beyond just a scan, okay, for us. Yes, scanning, okay, it might point up the vulnerabilities, looking at the passwords, looking at attack pathways. So, okay, there's an expert pathways, okay, there's an expert approach. There are different levels of attack, different degrees of attack. So, and, what are the results that are being produced by some of the automated systems, okay, other than just telling us, oh, change your passwords, okay, but I think we're seeing some good trends. But I'm still convinced that the human pen testing is needed. How often do you do your pen tests? Last year, we did 27 tests on the applications. And CAC, or Pantera. Well, when we talk about AI, I would like for our external attack surface to be under constant monitoring. In fact, and so we have a service for that. And we want to see if they're exploitable. But, that's, you don't really know sometimes on your surface. Sometimes it might not belong to you when you want to take a more offensive position. But we need to know what our exposure is, first of all. Okay, so we're going to be talking about AI and pen testing. So what's the reality right now? Is it just a tool, an aid? What do you think, Jean-Michel? Well, at this stage, a lot of people are jumping into this approach. I just see it as an aid, a tool. Okay, you're looking at the Python scripts, this can take half an hour more depending on how tough it is. So it can really help for that, because when, at the end of the day, the result could get us close to what we need. So I think it's helpful in that sense. It gets us very close to what we need more quickly, because you're facing a mass of data and you can't cover absolutely everything. So in that sense, it's useful to be able to manage such large amounts of data. And at the end of the pen test chain, the reports, I'm sure, none of the pen testers here in the room, I'm sure that's not your favorite thing to be doing, is the reports, writing the reports. Okay, but you can't just have the machine doing it either. So it's always going to have to be the human to make sense of this. So we can't, it's not just in a one-click report generation here. We're not there yet. So right now, but it is a big time saver. We are more efficient, and it's not necessarily, it's doing things where, it's, too long for humans to be doing. So pen tests, in fact, are for the good guys, as we've been saying, to prevent the bad guys from getting in and doing harm. Okay, so we are at just of the beginnings of some of these new tools. Also, when you're in an international team, you need things, that can help you. We don't all speak 90 languages. Major corporations need to be able to handle all of that. Okay, what about special, characters? So last February, there was a publication, LLM Scan, I think it was from the University of Illinois, published that. There was a lot of power going into trying to reproduce things that, the experts are doing. But it was pretty impressive to see what can be done. There's the SQL usage, but so it's coming, but we're still in the proof of concept stage. So I think, currently things are going well, but, if I could add something. So I really don't see any reason why, a person in front of a screen, there can be a lot of replacement of the human contribution. But the problem is the hallucinations, first of all, of AI, and understanding the context. So when you're talking about generative AI, sometimes, it's churning out things that may not make sense in the context. Okay, so AI quickly sort of loses its footing in that sense. But these can be solved through a technical. There can be longer and longer chains of characters that can be learned. There's other approaches like the Mistral. So this mix of experts in the AI. So part of the AI is devoted to understanding the problem and breaking it down to logical blocks, and so can do the parsing. And if you combine with the experts, you can really keep the context and avoid a lot of the hallucination. Have you tried the Pentest ChatGPT? They can keep the context pretty well. Okay, all right. So, we have used this. We've been testing this, and we're seeing things that are much more complex and evolving very quickly in the right direction. So I don't think we can, it's already starting. So, when you say it's not for today, well, in fact, it's already starting. So I believe that we can, these systems can generate the code for the pen tests, so you can run it and you can adapt it. So, there are many ways in which AI can relieve humans of some repetitive tasks. So you've got Pentest GPT. It's a paying system. Okay, it's So, they need to, of course, monetize their system. So it is paying, but it is continually updated and it's making progress. Okay, what about code analysis? Jean-Michel. Okay, so, when we've been talking about pen tests, but when we talk about code analysis, I know we don't all agree here, but that's fun. For my feeling there is that there's, a lot going on right now when you're trying to deal with masses, amounts of codes, the algorithms. We are seeing some good results. And what's been emerging, okay, there's a lot of our plugins. So if you use assemblers, there's Hydra. When you're doing a compilation, it can be a nightmare, in fact, to read some of the output of those. Yes, we agree on that point. Okay. So here now we'll have output that's going where the variables will be identified. So that's pretty magical. But I'm not yet convinced about how this can work in pen tester. So I think there's still jobs for pen testers. Will still be with us for some time. Well, if I could add something, listening to William, yeah, there's new things emerging all the time. Now, pen testing, okay, sometimes pen testers need to also think outside the box as well. Whereas AI, if you want to use it in a sure way, a secured way, we're always trying to keep it in a certain box, in fact. Okay, so, when it works, fantastic, you're really happy, it's impressive, yes. But when you're trying to set a framework, well, then that's a problem. I remember pen tests from the past where I had the source code of an app and I would find it on the website of the developer. For me, having obtained that, I discovered a lot of things. Okay, AI could do this, but, little by little, it becomes difficult to, try to keep set barriers, in fact, so that there for less hallucination. So one of the limits of a pentest GPT, it's using a very well-known LLM with plenty of variables, but to set some limits to what is allowed or not. So you're not going to blindly trust AI to do this. So no, that's not at all what I'm saying. Okay, we do need a lot of data for the pen tests, and the pen testers need to generate a lot of usage cases, so that we can add that into our database. That's what we do. Oh, are there any risks? If AI start doing something a bit too magical. Well, let's imagine, okay, you're looking for some long-term solutions. Okay, can you penetrate the system in any way whatsoever? And for AI, anything is fine. Social engineering is fine. Deep fakes are fine. Compromising photos. Okay, so there you're really getting out of line. Okay, now if that's what you want to test, well, AI can do it, but it's getting very disturbing. Well, we do need to keep in mind that pen testing is offensive. Okay, and sometimes, when there is an intrusion, they're looking to destroying data. Okay, so we need to be prepared. Our assets, might be a little bit outdated and therefore they're vulnerable. So, we do want humans behind this, where AI is just one more tool to help a good pen test. Well, since we're talking about the human input, William, you are talking about replacing people, but not necessarily. So what are you thinking about cybersecurity engineers? What's their future? Well, I think the idea is to multiply the types of testing. I never said that we want AI to be doing everything, because of the hallucinations of AI. So for me, this does not endanger pen testers in their jobs, okay? Well, then what do pen testers and cybersecurity engineers need to do in terms of upskilling or adapting? Well, I think it's the art of asking the right questions, understanding the context, how you transform that into goals. So here, it's not just about learning new tools. It's also about, thinking like an attacker, thinking like a criminal, to understand all of those techniques. Okay, so, thinking about, the social engineering style attacks as well. We ask ourselves more and more, LLMs, the questions, we're using natural language, so we have to adapt to that as well. Well, I was doing pen testing a long time ago. What I fear is that, we've got all these automated tools, so, will we sit back and rely on them? So yes, we need to use it to save time, okay, so that we can devote our time to the tougher issues. So for me, the risk is that, we will be using AI to save time and therefore sell at a lower price. Lower the prices? I fear that. I'm a bit pessimistic about that. I agree with that. We could have AI generating reports that no one will understand and therefore not read. So that becomes possible. Okay. That's the risk. Okay. People want to pay less, and that's what they're going to get. Okay, so if they think that the scanner is going to do everything, well, no. Another topic, for those who are coding. If you look at Salesforce, for example, if you ask ChatGPT to ask you to write code in certain languages, it can go very well. But in others, it's terrible. They don't have enough data. They haven't learned enough yet. So are there data sets on, for pen tests of sufficiently good quality so that AI can automate that? I'm not convinced yet. But, if the quality data sets arrive, well, then it would be better, of course. Well, it's true that you need a lot of data to train AI. When we were looking at image recognition, temporal series, but there are in some areas in which they can, do a lot on their own without that. So some well-done pen tests can greatly train, there's what we call the retrievable augmentation, and you will get more pertinent results. Of course, yes, it's true. You have to teach the system, and then it begins to learn on its own. It's true. And so, that becomes more financially, the cost becomes more reasonable. So you don't need as much data as you think. So what about apps being used, chatbots, do we need to pen test? Okay, well, I think, yes, pen testers need that skill. Definitely, you've all heard, I'm sure, of the AI, that had to be unplugged, basically. Okay. The chatbots had started answering clients to say, and then saying bad things about the customer service. I think an airline also, the chatbots started making things up. Okay, so when we're talking about AI pen tests, well, the pen testers maybe need to be keeping an eye on what the AI is doing with chatbots. But that's not as easy to do. When you're a pen tester, you know how to write SQL. You're going to learn the different techniques to go with the workarounds of the WAFs. So what you've understood that, okay, but, AI, the thing is, you will get different answers even when you're sending the same input. If you look at the Microsoft, they were looking at jailbreaking techniques. These are new. When I was trying to hire a pen tester, I wanted a developer. I thought, he or she will know how to do that, who's already, coded, will understand that, and he'll be able to understand where the exploits might be. But now, what? Now, what are the skills we need? You need that semantic skills that's going to manage with the AI. And that's a tough topic. Everyone is trying to use AI these days. And, well, internally, for us, everyone needs to use the AI. You can go so much faster. It's true. So we've multiplied our development capacity by 10. So absolutely need this. Okay, and the attacks are possible on the AI. So for example, if you know my company, the context, you can start, the attacks can come on my marketing tools, on my code and everything. But that's an expensive attack. In fact, you need a lot of the context to do an attack. So for us, we feel like that, it's worth it for us to continue down this line, okay? So for us, we absolutely need to keep developing. We understand that the risks come with that. Now, what about the NDRs? Okay, tell us about that. And, I'm also thinking about regulations. William, what's going on in the regulatory world? The EU, they're looking at the exposure to a level of risk, and so there's some specific clauses introduced into the regulations about AI. And they believe that a lot of the risk can come from the size of the LLM. So if you've got, depending on how the model was, it depends on the power. The size of that LLM is, so the larger it is, the more dangerous it's considered. And I tend to agree with that. So in the regulation, you've got to show the training data, the architecture of the AI, and the impact on the that you are respecting copyright. And so it's a pretty heavy duty. It's rather cumbersome.
And you, when it comes to custody, we've had them for some time. We haven't waited for regulations. You need a description of other models you have, how you train them, the bias you identified in the data, their business use, and how you justify all this. And we have cards for every AI that is deployed in our premises. So let's talk about pen testing of the future. a few use cases. Just I'd like to say something. If we force ourselves, and I mean, there are regulations, of course, on traditional AI uses. When it comes to attacking modes, you know, you are an attacker, right? So if we limit our AI when it comes to our attacks, others won't, you see? So, I mean, a penetration test is offensive. It's about attacking, right? And yeah, this is the limit you were talking about earlier on. You know, this is what I'm aiming at, and you were giving the example of, you know, I tried to look for this on Google to look for the code, and if you want to restrict the AI, because I'm afraid you might do mistakes on the defined scope, then it's not really efficient, because real attackers don't limit themselves. Well, if the questions are sometimes different and provide different answers, I think that we need to make sure that in the end, AI will generate all the comment lines that had been executed, so we can audit them too. You know, it's important to be able to reproduce the whole offensive chain that was automatically generated by the tool. Now, Arno, you wanted to say something. Yes, you know, pen testers basically 20 years ago, you know, did everything manually and looked at the tools and said, well, it's not as efficient as my own good technique. But then we started using tools because they save time, right? And I am convinced that AI will definitely part of the tools used by pen testers. And what I see nowadays, and it's very efficient when it comes to social engineering and conversely, we want to use AI for all purposes, and it's hard for AIs to actually go to websites and carry out tests when we actually have very efficient tools. And back in the day, you know, we had Brother Autopo and other things like these, and they worked pretty well. And we don't need AI for this. So I think the future lies in the use of the relevant use of AI and in the use of more traditional tools where they're still needed. When AI interacts with its environment, when you think of our interoperability, it can trigger all these tools, and so that's what you need minimal control over. What is actually triggered. When you talk about Pentest GPT, I've noticed that there's a person behind this that validates the various steps. Yeah, there's a validator. There's a model that validates the various steps and the code for it to be executed. And so it can be a person, of course, but they do have a validating model too. It is something that needs to be monitored, what we call agents. And we are used to using ChatGPT, you know, on a single occasion. You ask ChatGPT, please write a report, and they do it very well. Now we need incursive agents. What AI does is to ask, what's my objective? So it defines its own objective and the various steps that are needed to achieve this objective. And the AI will actually come back to the steps and without losing sight of its objective. And we have AI models that actually generate theses like these. So imagine pest testing with agents based on AI that doesn't lose sight of its objective. Okay, now if you had a magical pen in order to write a scenario that AI could help solve, do you have any idea? Well, I think it can be used when it comes to logic in the application penetration test. You know, when you know, the application can can be very repetitive, used repetitively, and when we always need humans, when it comes to logic, when I'm logged on into this application and I see Mr. X's data, can I actually make negative orders on websites? So it actually gives me money instead of me spending money. And so all the automatic tools are not efficient because you need some brain behind this, and AI could be useful, and I expect a lot from AI, especially when it comes to replacing humans. We were talking about quality earlier on, and you know, we thought that automated pen tests may not be qualitative enough, but I mean, there's the same situation for humans, you know, and AI can be used as an expert system, as a kind of assistance help desk. You know, the system can cover a number of IP addresses that a human cannot do in a limited amount of time. So the idea, it's all about, you know, exoskeletons, basically. How can you turn a person into a pen test superhero so they can do in 10 days what would require 4 months? I do not see this as taking part in pen testing, because a pen test is basically a soldier. But I think AI can be very useful in the longer term, in red teaming. If AI can learn about the context of the company and generate avatars and a number of things, and then go for intrusion, fraud attempts, then it may help us reinforce our company's resilience, the resilience of our information systems and that of our teammates. I agree. AI then need to be able to take a step back and to say, well, this is your objective. You need to attack this, and therefore do not restrict themselves to what a pen tester would do. So AI can ask you, have you tried these things? And it can give you more creativity. It will not restrict itself to its tools. It will take context on the people that are under attack or trying that are targeted. And I think setting more general objectives for AI is what I expect from the future. We're a bit early, so you can, if the audience has any questions, feel free to ask them. Don't be shy. It's always a bit complicated. Okay, let me give you the microphone. I have 2 questions, but you partly answered them. The amount of pen tests that are required for AI to be relevant and trained, and behind this, and that's my second question, and maybe you'll answer both questions in one go. What about the loss of skills of human pen testers? Using tested methods that have been used over and over, and they might not be aware of new techniques, new tricks that can sometimes be found in the twisted brains of our pen testers if they no longer practice pen testing. And a further question is controlling pen testing by generative AI. What about when it comes in the hands of malevolent attackers, and who basically do not have many moral limits? When it comes to your second questions, I think it's always already in the hands of attackers. They're always a bit ahead of us, and it is something we need to know, and we need to equip ourselves consequently. So it's really interesting because, ChatGPT or whatever is an advanced Google, in my opinion. They generate code, but they don't know what this code is used for. So just using AI for the sake of using AI is useless, basically. But if you work with people who use AI in order to improve their skills, to be more efficient, I think it is the kind of mindset that the community needs to have in the scientific world in order to go further and further. It's basically it's like not needing a calculator to multiply. Basically, pen testers are not just people who do the same things over again. They're hackers, and they actually look for vulnerabilities. Let me give a data scientist answer. I used to say that in order to work in data science, you need some intuition. And when I launched the API and asked it to look for mistakes, and they were able to make iterations on things that were published in Russia in the 1960s and provided me with a solution I had never thought of. I started losing confidence, and I realized that there was a problem, that I was going to be replaced. So I really clearly knew what I wanted to see. And once you have defined, set clearly your objectives, you know exactly what the scope is, what your objective is, then you can let AI do the rest. So what you were saying is that if you no longer innovate, you no longer find anything. Well, over the last years, there's been some automation, but it did not prevent anyone from doing some research or studies. And so, but if you look at what has been published about innovation, people maybe are doing it for the sake of doing it to boast or whatever, to say, oh, look, I've found something new in vulnerability testing. So I don't think where the pen testers are over. WAF has issued a ranking of AIs, and so there's going to be some more technological advances, and they will keep using tools. Now the approach that says I hide tools for the good guys, so and hoping the bad guys don't know about them, that was a bit of a mistake, right? And so I think it's better if everybody knows about it. And the strength of a pen test is the realization that problems need to be solved. So there's a direct business impact. So human beings, with their understanding of business, they still have maybe cutting edge, but they might be able to, pay attention to negative amounts, or they might find words to convince CEOs. And the fact that tools are massively used by attackers is also a great way to say that it's not just for others, and the point of it all is to correct flaws. So I think thank you very much. Hi everyone. I have an observation. My question is, let me start with the question, because it's a very short question. Could we imagine that both AI and humans work hand in hand? Because I think humans created AI. It's not something from a fantasy world. So it's not like a weapon that you're pointing at someone, that you're being that is pointing at you. So my question is, what about, working hand in hand with AI? And my observation is as follows. a consultant, right? When a client asks for pen tests, there's context needed, and it's all about social engineering. Let's imagine that you need to know more about the client, what they do on the market, their footprint on the market, their global general vulnerabilities, and the kind of business they do, and what is the asset that will be tested in order to define my strategy. If the client doesn't ask for a particular strategy together with information. So AI can actually work within a scope, and I think it shouldn't be restricted to a particular scope. I think it should be left alone so it can look for all the different vulnerabilities. And as part of the test, given the asset that is being pen tested, because it can be submitted to regulations, it could be an essential asset, a vital asset for the company or for a state to prevent systemic risk, there will be a frame. So in this case, I'm going back to my question, and what about working hand in hand with AI? I was talking about the, exoskeleton. It's like a soldier that is enhanced. So, whites work within a legal frame, and so the good guys actually work within comply with a legal framework, while bad guys don't really do that, and they can actually do things that good guys can't really. So I don't think I'm answering your question, but anyways, would you like to add to this? Yeah, I think we can think about chess. 20 years ago, human beings still beat the computer, and now systematically computers beat machines, beat humans. So the only way to beat the machine is to have a machine together with a master, because in doing so, when playing chess, they work hand in hand, and so the machine can suggest a move that will be something the human may not have thought about, and so on. Are there any other questions? Hi, everyone. I have a question about security risks when it comes to AI. Recently, you may have heard of it in Hong Kong. Company was hacked by using AI. So black hats used AI, vocal AI, and by means of a video conference, they were able to steal $25 million from a company, getting in touch with human resources or whatever. And so my question is, how can we fight against this? Because if we can't even trust a voice, we can't even trust image when it comes to making decisions, how can we prevent such things? So I'm very pessimistic. Attackers have the advantage over defenders, really. I mean, usually there's a 6 months gap between attacks and attack solving. So you have very small systems that are extremely efficient, and if they need to be trained. But if you make augmented requests, and with your knowledge, you may be able to inject expertise others don't have. How can we protect ourselves from this? I don't know, because of the various AI approaches. I don't know if you use them, but they think outside of the box, and they think of things I would have never imagined, I could have never come up with. Well, it's kind of high-frequency red teaming to train IT so they can be patched wherever they need to be patched, and also collaborators, teammates, in order to favor certain physical contacts. I mean, it's basically about phishing, right? It's at all levels. So even if your information system is protected, you think 100% protected, any intrusion is possible. Look at what happened at Okta or wherever. I mean, they got it wrong when it came to supply chain, and then by means of phishing operations, and sometimes also, administrators can be bribed. So it's not only a cyber attacks; it's fraud. If they can clone your website and change it, and then your attack surface attack systems might not identify them, detect them, and then the fake website is then published and it has fake ads. And I mean, there's phenomenal intelligence at this, and people are very ingenious, very smart. And as you were saying, it's the ambivalence of everything. There are positive and negative aspects to everything. You have chatbots everywhere, vulnerable plugins everywhere. So I think we're in for a lot of fun. A few elements. I think it's very important to raise awareness when it comes to attacks and the type of attacks we can be faced with. I mean, it's not science fiction. And also communication. It's important to say, yeah, we faced an attack, and more and more CEOs agree to say this is what happened, and yeah, we got caught. They caught us. They got us. And the third strategy is to take a break. Wait a second. The CEO is asking me to wire some money. Wait a second. Let me call him on his cell phone to make sure he is actually asking for it. I mean, the big boss is asking for money transfer because there's some acquisition going on. And take a break, take a pause, and make sure it comes from him or her, right? Make sure you call the bank, your bank clerk, so you don't provide anyone with a code. But if AI has set an objective, we could tell the AI, I don't want that person to be able to call their boss, and AI is able to develop scenarios and to anticipate various moves, and it's incredible. You'd be amazed. Oh my God. So you're saying excuse my French, screwed. Yes. I have a very quick question. Thank you very much for this presentation. I just have a question that summarizes what was said. Isn't there a risk that in 2, 3, 5 years' time, maybe 5 months' time, in the end, AI was had a more negative than positive impact for us? What do I mean? Well, hackers, non-ethical hackers, who do not care about regulations, who do not care about legal frameworks, will use these tools with bad intentions, right? These people do improve their expertise and use these tools in a very specific way. And on the other side, it's us, with our ethics and legal framework. So could we end up in such a situation that the gap is too big, and we were able to increase our defenses, but since they are even better at attacking, well, I think the answer is pretty simple. Well, they're moving faster than us. Yeah, but we are also us. what's telling us? What's telling you they're going faster than us? I mean, there are great researchers and on the market, and those who use attacks, who want to attack, use tools and are looking for attacking. So defense is basically this, the same as attacking, and it works the other way around. I think it's a philosophical question. We're all about safety, security, whatever our choice is in society. We need to protect society, so it's a different fight. We don't use the same tools, but you have the same intelligence. Basically, when you use an attacker's tools to carry out pen tests, right? So, for example, I've generated videos where teams were being explained a few things, and they were fake videos, and it was a great way to train and to raise awareness among people. So we can use the same tools as our attackers. Basically, what you were saying is like, you know, playing cat and mouse, basically. Could you please use the mic? So since the attacker's tools are more powerful, the gap is getting bigger. Is that what you're saying? I'm sorry, they're not using the microphone. I cannot hear the speaker right now. So in defense, we use AI a lot. In SOCs, we're much faster. In intelligence, we're faster too, and so they can actually summarize everything they've seen about you. Sometimes you need to dig a bit deeper, but AI actually diminishes the entry barrier, the level, the height of the barrier. You have hundreds of millions of people who have access to things that they could not access in the back. So I'm being a bit optimistic, but we have never seen such a revolution before. And instead of 5,000 people, you have 500 million people who can actually carry out an attack. Good luck. I wanted to talk about the part of AI in advanced persistence threats, because pen tests are usually time constrained. They need to be carried out over 1 week, 2 weeks, and with AI we can actually carry longer term tests in much shorter time. Do you see a new paradigm in the way you carry out pen tests once there's no time constraint? It's kind of like two questions. AI in APTs, well, I saw a worm that's called Black Mamba, I think, unless I'm mistaken, and it had no malicious load, but it self-transformed with OpenAI, and so obviously it left under it was there under the radar. And so APT groups are basically about massifying attack groups. I want to remain positive as defenders. We also have the same tools. So what you develop in your company are using AI in order to counter these attacks. So as part of this, APT can look and detect weak signals. So internally, we also have AI that permanently try to attack our solution. So they know what normal data looks like, what attack data looks like. And this is run on a permanent basis, and they find flaws on a regular basis. So it means we can modify the protocol used, the flow, and it ends at some point the AI is no longer able to detect them. It costs us a lot of money.
Okay, one last question. It's okay, two last questions. I have a question. I think in the future, there's going to be malware that's going to be coupled to APIs using AI. So Worm GPT, for example, it's disappeared now, but it was one of the first that we saw on Hack Forum. So what I'm wondering, rather than trying to put together red teams to defend the companies, why aren't we creating an AI that would function like a malware, but that would be intrinsic to the company directory? That's good. So just continuously, all traffic, all actions, changes to the registry, everything's considered normal. And from there, it can analyze everything and spot something abnormal. So, just like a snapshot of how the company works. And as soon as anything is outside the context, it would give us an idea of an intrusion, between the normal and the abnormal. Well, it does exist. Well, that's what we do. In fact, at Custody, that's precisely what we're doing, is looking at traffic, or just saying, okay, why is that asset communicating at that time of day or with that other asset, something like that. Is there something going on in accounting on a Sunday night? Okay, yeah, but where do you define what's normal? Because you're going to start having too many false alerts. But that's definitely the approach we need to take. You're right. There's also when you're doing, the baselines of a behavior, it also means that this has to be recognized, but it means a very comprehensive view of your IS. Of course, with a lot of the digital transformation underway all over the companies, we see a lot of changes that not everyone knows at all times, and this will generate a lot of false positives as well. So you need to be identifying the critical assets, and then, so that the alerts will make more sense. But this, because otherwise you're supposing, you're presuming that you know everything about your IS, but you don't. Well, yes, so, just as you described it, yeah, you've got your snapshot of what's normal, but the normal keeps moving. And so, and then you'll find yourself flooded with false alerts, and then the EDRs and they're all over, and when you're, but sometimes what you realize is that because of too many false alerts, nobody's paying attention to the alerts anymore. So I don't know if the colleagues here will agree, but you're quite right. Okay, so what you're looking for is the stronger signals in a very expert system. Thank you so much. So if I'm a client and I order a pen test and I want to be sure of the quality of the pen test, I'm hearing some different stories from you. Some of you, you made the parallel with an exoskeleton, but at the same time, there's no one-click solution. You won't get a good quality report. So my question is, how does, a client know that they're getting their money's worth from a pen test? And, with increasing AI, does the client need to change strategies, look for different methods of testing? So if you're the client, how do you make sure that you're getting your money's worth when you pay for a pen test? You need to be looking at the profiles, what's under the hood of this proposed service. Do they, what they're doing? How do I ensure that the consultant, might have all of these certifications of training, but is that enough? Does this consultant understand when they need to be doing some things manually and not just rely on AI all the time? Well, when you've completed a pen test and you submit the report, you can see what's going on in the quality of the report. When you have competent developers, it's great to see, the pen testers and the developers, they all need to be able to answer questions, So, if you're doing the pen testing, but, and if you don't really know what's going on behind it, then that pen tester is not going to be able to answer any questions. And then for people who have to do the remediation, there has to be an in-depth dialogue. Okay, so if the more you're using AI for testing, infrastructure, and APIs, you need very specific types of pen testing. So, as William was saying, are there some things going on that, the AI is producing that make sense or that don't make sense? Okay, we're going to have to stop this session, but of course, so William, do you have a stand? Yeah, where's the stand? C7, that's the Occitania stand, Frank, at the SOC stand with Arnaud in the alleys of the Forum. Okay, you've got the LinkedIn and Jean-Michel. LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn.